afternoon. Are you having a great day?
Yeah.
Okay, have you warmed up from the rally?
Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Me too. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today at the niche meeting here at the Embassy Suites. It's wonderful to be able to be with you. I come here as one of you. I'm an Iowan, for those of you who don't know it. I was born in Waterloo, Iowa. I grew up in Waterloo and Cedar Falls. We lived there until I was about 12 years old. My father was an engineer. He got a job with Honeywell. We went up to Minnesota. And so these are my roots. And I'm not just an Iowa, I'm an Iowegian. Do any of you know what an Iowegian is? There are a few of us here. I'm 100% Norwegian. My family actually came here in the 1850s, so I'm a seventh generation Iowan. My family were part of the pioneers who had cleared the land literally and felled the trees and plowed the soil in northeast Iowa and created the brilliance that is the breadbasket of the United States, which is Iowa. And so I am here as one of you, and I thank you for allowing me to be here to speak to you today. I'm also here as a former homeschool parent together with my husband. My husband Marcus and I have been married almost 33 years. We have 5 wonderful biological children. We were privileged to raise 23 foster children in our home. So you are looking at the old woman in the shoe right here at raising 28 kids. We are so thrilled with all that you are doing for your family and for your children, and I want to thank you for doing that. You know the benefits of homeschooling. We learned about the benefits of homeschooling too. Let me tell you just a little bit about where I'm coming from and a little bit more about my background. Again, I want to thank you for the privilege. I believe very strongly in the United States, in the sovereignty of the United States. And I think in many ways, just as our sovereignty as parents has come under attack from governmental entities, I think our nation has also come under attack with our United States sovereignty. I don't like to see the United States cede that sovereignty in any way to international bodies, whether it's the UN or any other multilateral organization. It's important that we work together. I get it. We do work with each other globally, but we also need to remember that there are threats coming to our sovereignty. And in particular, what we're seeing now with events that are happening and transpiring around the world. I also want to commend you that you are fighting Iowans. Iowans are fighters. I love that about Iowa. That's one great thing about the Hawkeye State. Iowans have fought, and as homeschoolers, you've had to fight to maintain your jurisdiction and your control over the right to educate your children. I get that. I love it. I love the fact that as Iowans, you took matters into your own hands when your judges at the Supreme Court decided that these black-robed masters knew more than you did about what the definition of marriage was going to be, and they decided to put their definition on you. You said enough is enough, and you sent them packing. So I'm very proud of you for what you've done. Not only did you not retain those 3 justices, you put a shot across the bow across the United States. It is very rare that a judge does not go back to office. Don't think that you didn't do a favor all across the United States to judges who've been doing this. I know a little bit about that. Back when the Massachusetts Judicial Supreme Court had passed their ruling, and as you recall, the Supreme Court of Massachusetts told the state legislature that the legislature was forced to pass a bill in conformity with the will of the Supreme Court. What am I talking about? The Supreme Court said marriage now will be redefined. It will no longer be just between a man and a woman. It can be between 2 people of the same sex. And so unbelievably, against all constitutional restraint, and I would suspect in this room we have constitutionalists, am I right? We have strong constitutionalists, and thank you. I'm glad to hear it. I knew we could count on Iowa homeschoolers. They decided in an act of sheer arrogance to force their legislature to pass a law in conformity with their will. They essentially became black robe masters. When that happened, I was sitting as a state senator in the state of Minnesota. And I decided if that could happen in Massachusetts, that could happen in my state of Minnesota. And so I decided as a state senator to introduce the constitutional amendment at our legislature so that the people of Minnesota could decide what marriage would be, whether it is between one man and one woman. And as you know, all across the nation, this has been a firestorm issue. And in every state where the constitutional issue has gone on the ballot, it has been successful, and the people have voted on that issue. I understand what it is to fight. As an Iowan by birth, as an Iowan by ancestry, and as a transplanted Iowan into my now home state of Minnesota, I get fighting. Part of that advantage is I was the only girl in my family. I had 3 brothers. That's the best preparation for politics that any girl can have. And I believe when you go to serve in the legislature or when you go to serve in any public office, when you go, you should say what you mean and you mean what you say. And when you tell people during a campaign that you're going to do something, my opinion is you do it. What do you think about that? I actually believe it. Too often we don't get that from our public officials. They say one thing when they're running for office, they get in, it's a little cushy, you're told to tone it down, you're told to be a moderate, that's really what everybody wants, and then people don't do what they say. I missed that class. Because I firmly believe that the people who elected me, I decided it was truth in transparency. And I was going to tell people exactly what I believed in when I was running for office. And when I got to every office that I've served in, I served nationally at the national level in Washington, D.C. for 5 years. That is exactly what I have done. And I come from what you might call a tough neighborhood in Minnesota. I come from the state where we've elected Hubert Humphrey, Eugene McCarthy, Walter Mondale, Paul Wellstone, and now Al Franken. That's the neighborhood that I come from. I'm the first Republican woman, and I'm not just a Republican, I am a way conservative. I am the first Republican woman ever to get elected out of Minnesota to go to Washington, D.C., and they have no idea what to do with me. Absolutely no idea. And we're going to keep it that way. My husband and I met when we were at Winona State University. He was a dairy farmer and a cattleman, coming from a dairy farm and a cattle farm. We met at Winona State University. One of the first things that we did when we were there is we saw a film series by Dr. Francis Schaeffer called How Shall We Then Live? We learned at that point about the importance of the pro-life cause and the pro-life issue. And my husband and I, since we have been 19 years of age, have been stalwarts when it comes to the issue for standing up for the unborn. Because we believe every individual, no matter their ability or disability, is made in the image and likeness of a holy God, and they have rights from the moment of conception until natural death, and we have to stand for those rights. To be a very strong supporter of our Second Amendment rights. I don't know about you, but I believe in all of the amendments, not just the Second Amendment, but I learned from him to be respectful of firearms in our house. We had shotguns and rifles, and we tied our own fishing lures down in the basement. We created our own shotgun shells down in the basement. We grew up respecting firearms, and I went through my first gun safety class when I was 12, and I'm a concealed carry permit holder, and I was happy to be able to be a part of passing concealed carry in Minnesota during my time there. This is a very important right that we take for granted at our peril. And again, as I said, I believe in all of the amendments. It's really interesting to me how those on the very liberal side of the political agenda want to say that our Constitution is a living Constitution. Have you heard that before? They say it's a living document, a breathing document. All that means is every time the Supreme Court goes into session, it's basically a constitutional convention, and those sitting judges rewrite our Constitution at will. But if you look to law professors will say that the 9th Amendment and the 10th Amendment are dead amendments. Are they dead amendments? No. Not to me, they're not. They're very much alive because they secure to the states and they secure to the individual our rights as citizens under the United States Constitution. I'm also a very strong supporter of our military and our veterans. My dad served in the United States Air Force. My stepfather served in the Army. My brother retired from the United States Navy. I am now privileged to serve on the United States Select Committee on Intelligence. We spend approximately 20 hours every week dealing with the nation's classified secrets, with national security. I wish I could talk to you about what I do. I am not allowed to talk to you about what I do, but it is an extremely important committee where we deal with the safety and the security of the American people. I take that responsibility very strongly. I am